Thanks for everybody to come and see our show. Sorry Quinton couldn't be here today, but looking at that presentation that John pointed out about what present value could be if on a discovery, I think there's a big U.S. corporation that has a logo called I'm Loving It. So I'm loving the outcome visualization that he has on our stock. We have John DeDecker, John DeDecker here, who's doing all of the analysis and the work in reconfiguring how Eskay-2 will appear. And we're going to have Dr. Quinton Hennigh describe this right now on this video. I'm sorry he couldn't be here today, but we did this video yesterday. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Eskay Mining's corporate presentation. I'm Quinton Hennigh, Technical Advisor to Eskay Mining. I will be making forward-looking statements today. This disclaimer is found in Eskay Mining's corporate presentation linked in their website. Eskay Mining currently has about 118 million shares out, of which nearly 1/5 are held by management and insiders. Eskay Mining holds a commanding land position of 52,000 hectares in the highly prospective Golden Triangle of British Columbia. Notice that we have several world-class deposits and mines in our immediate vicinity, including the Eskay Creek mine immediately north of the property, the Kerr Sulphurettes deposits to the east, and Brucejack further east still. This is a somewhat closer view of the property. The blue and the yellow are grounds that are held in joint venture with Kirkland Lake. Eskay Mining holds 80%, Kirkland Lake holds 20%. The quarry property shown in red is 100% controlled by Eskay Mining. Some of the world-class deposits in our immediate vicinity are shown on this image. Eskay Creek, for example, is to the north. We have the Kerr Sulphurettes camp, which is Mitchell, Sulphurettes, and Kerr deposits to the east. And then Pretium's Valley of the Kings, which is Brucejack, further east still. Now I'm going to take a little bit and talk about VMS systems. These are volcanogenic massive sulfide systems. And we're going to talk about gold and silver rich VMS systems. So these are basically deposits that formed on the seafloor through exhalative processes. Everybody's seen pictures of black smokers. They know about the sulfides that come out of the ocean floor, and they form layers of sulfide material that, if they're thrust up onto the continent, can become great mines. Eskay Creek stands out above all the rest in terms of grade. Eskay Creek has an astounding grade of 45.57 gram per ton gold and 2,231 grams per ton silver. It blows everything else out of the water. Now, this diagram shows grade on the vertical axis and deposit tonnage on the horizontal axis. In spite of the fact that Eskay Creek is very high grade, the tonnage of the deposit is right in line with kind of the middle of the field. Nonetheless, Eskay Creek is well endowed with gold. You can see the actual quantity of gold that's hosted at Eskay Creek is well over 100 tons, which puts it up into the league with many of the other world-class deposits in this image. Now, something about VMS deposits. They seldom occur one-off by themselves. Almost all VMS deposits occur in clusters, like a camp. They seldom occur as a single one-off deposit. Yet Eskay Creek, to date, is really the only known VMS system in this region. Well, we'd like to change that. We think we have some ideas about how to explore. Now, about 5 months ago, Eskay Mining contracted Thomas Monarchy, who's a world-known VMS expert at the Colorado School of Mines, and his associate, Dr. John DeDecker, to help us unravel the geology and develop our exploration targets and focus at Eskay Mining. So much of what I'm going to talk about here is really the work that they've done. We're going to focus in on the SIB prospect. This is what's shown in red hatcher. Eskay Creek property is immediately north. That's, of course, controlled by Skeena. Skeena is drilling there now, and they're having very, very good drill results as of late. We've got the ground immediately to the south and on strike, and I'm going to talk in detail about what we see here. This geologic map is a synthesis of several geologic maps, all different interpretations of the camp. But what Thomas and John have done is basically condensed everything and made a very simplified geologic map that brings the whole picture together. You can see Eskay Creek is in the upper right corner. It sits on the west limb of an anticline. This is basically a fold. And the Eskay Creek mine itself is situated in between a sequence of rhyolite shown in yellow and a sequence of mudstone, which is shown in dark gray. That little blue line that you see, that light blue line, is the contact between those two units. And it projects southwestward and continues down onto Eskay Mining's ground and presents itself as a very interesting target for us. Okay, now if you follow that line down, you'll see the Lulu Stockwork zone on Eskay Mining's ground. This area was drilled historically, but the geologic context of this zone it was very poorly understood until lately. Right? Turns out Lulu is part of a stockwork system. It's basically a feeder part of a VMS system. And we think that the actual VMS itself is going to fall somewhere in that blue line in the subsurface below what we call the Coulter Creek thrust. Now, there's a cross-section drawn, which is shown in that blue line. I'm going to take you in a minute and show you that cross-section. But first I'm going to talk about the Lulu Stockwork zone. Okay, I told you that there was historic drilling at Lulu. Look, this property has seen several campaigns, mostly promotional. People come in, they drill, they raise a bit of money, they drill, they hit some interesting stuff. The market loses interest after a while, and it sits idle. I mean, that's the history of many of the properties in this region. The Lulu zone has some impressive results, though. 14.4 grams per ton gold, over 1 kilo of silver per ton, over 14 meters. This is in stockwork mineralization. Okay, we know that today. Thomas and John have demonstrated that very conclusively. What does this mean? Well, here you can see a leapfrog model, kind of a slice through it, showing the Lulu zone, the drilling at SIB. All right, so all of those drill holes you see in the foreground are basically in that stockwork mineralization. You can see Eskay Creek in the background. It's somewhat to the left. Okay, now the two little holes you see, or 2 or 3 holes you see immediately left of SIB, those are up in the Coulter Creek thrust. The VMS itself is possibly situated below those holes, below that Coulter Creek thrust. This poses a very interesting target, one that's not been drilled. Now here's the cross section. Here's looking south. You can see the Coulter Creek thrust is pushed up the Bowser Lake group over the top of the critical rocks. To date, all the drilling's been focused in the footwall, in the andesite and the rhyolite, which are shown in gray and yellow. They've got some very good numbers there, so we know there's a live system, but nobody's really tested this stratiform, this VMS type mineralization, which we think exists in the red dashed area along the contact between the rhyolite and the mudstone. That's our main focus. So this year we plan to develop through geophysics and other means and refine the target area for 9,000 meter program of drilling around the Lulu zone and the mineralization we believe is associated with it up section. In addition to that, we're going to do some exploration elsewhere on Eskay's vast land holdings. Okay, I told you about the Quarry prospect a minute ago. This is 100% controlled by Eskay Mining. And this ground is south. It's south of everything that I just talked about. The SIB and Lulu are to the north off of this image. At Quarry, you have a series of prospects. These have not seen much exploration work at all in the past few years, which is a crying shame because the C10 and the TET and this GFJ zone look to me like VMS potential. So do the Jeff and TB zones. What are we really talking about here? Well, we're talking about a camp. If you recall, I said that VMS deposits do not occur. They typically do not occur as one-off deposits. They usually occur in clusters. We firmly believe that there's huge exploration potential elsewhere on this property. We do have an extensive geophysical program planned for all of these targets. We really want to develop some of these areas. We consider these greenfield areas. So these are or ones we have to build from the ground up, but we consider them highly prospective for discovery of further VMS systems. Thank you for attending our presentation today. Keep an eye on this story. You'll see some exciting developments over the coming months that lead up to our exploration program. We anticipate starting geophysics in June and being able to drill that 9,000 meter program starting shortly thereafter. Thank you very much.
John, did you want to do a...
Just have a few additional comments to follow up on what Quinton had to say. I'd like to emphasize, and as Quinton repeatedly said, that these VMS deposits do not typically occur as isolated deposits, but rather in clusters along these synvolcanic rift structures that facilitate the fluid flow. Also, it's quite important that we've encountered unequivocal VMS feeder zone that has the typical gold, silver, the lead, zinc, iron, copper, base metal endowment, and the hydrothermal alteration and the stratigraphic footwall is consistent with the VMS feeder zone as well. And this is where all of our higher grade hits have come from so far. What's important is that these fluids that created this feeder zone were going towards the seafloor, and that's what contact we're trying to model and target, is where these feeder zones would have intersected the seafloor and actually led to the development of massive sulfide ore bodies. So we'll be, as Quinton said, integrating geophysics and the geologic model and geochemistry that I've been doing to develop the best strategy for looking for these small massive sulfide targets. And with that, I'd like to thank you, and I'd be happy to take any questions during the Q&A session related to the geology of our deposit. Thank you.